A man falls in love with his eyes, a woman falls in love with her ears. And as such, writers have been among the most attractive men to women through all of history. And the interesting thing that comes to mind right now is that they didn't depend on their wealth or their status. So women actually liked these men for their mind, relatively speaking. So a good example that is an inspiration to you and to me, Stan, both, is Hank Moody from the TV show Californication.
Mm.
And also the actor that plays him in real life. And the further discussion beyond that, of course, is what seductive power do words have that are written, that are verbalized, that are spoken, that promises that are made from a man to a woman? How does those factors relate to falling in love? And on the flip side, of course, the physical beauty or the appearance of woman often leads to men falling in love and acting irrational. And so there's a different mechanism for men and women to fall in love that I'd love to explore today, Stan.
That's great. At first, when you proposed this topic, I thought it's bullshit, and now I realize that there is something interesting to talk about. But more than Hank Moody, I'm thinking about Lord Byron, because Hank Moody is still a written character, right? And plus, the actor is acting him, so it's a bit more complicated to describe him. But more interesting, I was thinking partly about Byron right now and partly about Charles Bukowski. And I think the simplest answer is the imagination, right? Smarter you are, further you can take her, right? Deeper you are, more worlds you can show to her. It's one of the things, right? Usual average guy, I don't know, businessman, musician, actors, artists, they can take her from point A to B, in the best case to C, right? But the writers said they use the old vocabulary because they're writers. And yeah, I think that depth that writing process gives to men, reading in general, you don't need to become a writer, but live that life. Be inspired by what writers wrote. Expand your visions, right? Because there is one neuroscientist, Tatiana Chernigovskaya, and she says that in the moment when we read, that's why many people feel sleepy, right, when they read, because our brain consumes the most energy, right? So it's really complicated activity for the brain, right? So, and there is another study that it shows that it creates new neural connections after you read more and more complicated books, not self-help bullshit, but complicated books. And complicated books, it's classic literature, definitely, because you cannot read Divine Comedy if you never read Bible, right? You need to have the preparation before these books. They have continuation, right? So whenever you read strong authors of 20th century, one of the examples, James Joyce, right? Ulysses. You cannot read him if you didn't read all classic literature before him, because he passes that tradition further, right? And so
It
definitely it affects
presupposes,
on dating, yeah. Yeah.
well, it presupposes culture.
Mm-hmm.
As in, you already are expected to have read all the great literature before you read this, assuming you already have the understanding of that.
I remember I shared it with Zan like 2 years ago. There is Brodsky's list, right? The books that he gave it to his students, and he said, if you want to call yourself intelligent person or the person that deserved at least to be talked to, so you need to read these books, right? There is 75 books. Whenever I show to people, they say like, oh fuck, I never read even 10 of them. I still have 5 of them on the list. So yeah, it starts with Bhagavad Gita, Mahabharata, Odyssey, obviously, right? Iliad, and etc. Bunch of Roman writers, bunch of Greeks like Sophocles, Euripides, and etc. Yeah, but step by step, if you really want to expand yourself, your visions, and that definitely helps. And I was thinking recently about that. I think ultimately, because Casanova was a big reader, he started to write when he was older, right? But he was big reader before that. So in general, people by that time read way more. And as one of another examples, it's Pichorin, a hero of our time, right? But basically Lermontov describes himself. Most of the time when he is describing his room, there is at least one book on the table close to his bed, right? So, and Pichorin was great with women. And the same with Bukowski, I think. We talked once about him. He could be potentially very dangerous. So he had that dark side, right, from the bars and homeless people he've been encountering. But in the same time, he was very sensitive. He could cry. There is beautiful video when one of his girlfriends leaves him and she didn't call him 3 days, and they show him sitting close to the phone, and she called him, he responded, and then tears is running from his eye. That's the dangerous man that everyone knows, that Bukowski was like so brutal and etc. But that's complexity. I think writers also has this thing, non-duality, the complexity, having dark side and having bright side, accepting shadows, because other fields of art, they don't require that. But as the writer, you're doing God's job, right? God created the world. God wrote down this story. Either it's about Adam and Eve, or either it's any other religious story. God was the first writer ever. So,
This brings to mind the idea of a woman does not need promises. She needs to feel you're the kind of man who makes promises unnecessary or irrelevant.
yeah.
And so this idea of the word, whether it is written or spoken, some men, when they speak, are invisible, and women don't take them seriously at all. And for others, they say so much in so little. Sam, you talked about being precise and concise in the expression of your language.
Mm.
And so what is that, the essence of a man that is, for example, taken seriously with gravity and mystique versus someone that's just, we've also explored before on this podcast the idea of writers with good content because they lived an interesting life that they write about, but poor style, and great style, but poor content because they have nothing that they lived. Obviously, Byron, one of your inspirations, is a good example of having both.
Mm-hmm.
Lived an interesting life and had the eloquence,
yeah,
and the poetic precision to capture it. But I wonder what is the practical side of this? Because talk is cheap, and action is honestly everything. And maybe what you refer to when we often talk about these things, Stan, is the idea of a man who his presence speaks for itself. He doesn't need to brag or boast. It's kind of written on his forehead. We think of Kelly, who Zan talks about, right? He walks into the bar and he doesn't need to be the most. He stands out, but he doesn't stick out. And the big neon sign on his forehead, I'm here to bang, and who wants them? If we speak about Kelly. So how does this man project this presence? And does that come from traveling the world and writing about it? Or what are some other pathways to go into art, to go into the world for this man to, obviously, our best episode was the hero of our time, the man who initiates himself.
Mm.
That initiation and transformation is written on his face. If we describe it as a soul tattoo or whatever, just some way of describing or showing up differently that is uncommon, that comes across immediately. And it's not about tattoos or how you physically look.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think there is interesting parts that you touched. One of them I wanted to mention, especially in the writing, that's why I'm saying it's not really important to be a writer, right? But it's very much important to read good literature, because you consume thousands of stories in one book, right? Not thousands, sometimes it's hundreds, right? Depends how many characters, right? But you know people better, you know yourself better, you understand world better, entourage, atmosphere. Plus you understand that laconic beauty, when beauty goes from one point, from the first page to the last one, right? Laconic when it opens up step by step. And yeah, you mentioned some guys. I think there is big difference between women being aroused by you and wanting to spend 2, 3 weeks together, and women that deeply fell in love with you. Because at least half of the guys that I know who is good with women, right? They good in getting laid, but they good in arousing, right? Becoming that fantasy that arouses her body. But complexity, I think, comes from you being deep enough to change her mindsets, to change her patterns, basically to open up sides in her that she maybe even forgot already before, you know. And it's not just about sexual desire that women suppress because of work and etc., right? It's about dreams that she had as the teenager or when she was in her 20s, right?
She doesn't believe in anymore.
Yeah, so
And
there is levels, you know, and in these cases, I think what helps the most it's emotional intelligence, not just arousal, right? Arousal is very important in the first stages. But if you really want to make her fall in love, it's another part because usually guys who arouse in women, they later on get in kind of ambivalence, you know, from the same woman because she also wants the second part, right? What they used to call provider, but I don't think it's about that, right? Starving artists also is good fit
yeah,
for some women.
well, that's interesting because if we talk, let's say for 7 days or 5 to 7 days in the month, woman's ovulating, right? And biologically, this is
Yeah.
her funny quote unquote easy mode. But no, it's not about that at all because I think of two things. One, as Zan told us about who approached him, he says, "Hey, Zan, we get phone numbers, but how do you get women that love you forever?"
Mm.
And so the point is like to rephrase what you said, maybe. Okay, you got laid, bro. So what? Did you make her more herself? Did you make her believe in men again? Did you change her qualitatively? Did you leave her better off than you found her? And did you improve her life for having known you, no matter how long you spent together? She can't be the same person after meeting you. Okay, she spread her legs, but did she open her heart and her soul and her mind and her spirit to you? And so we talked about this a little bit before recording today, which was the idea of imagine being the man that a woman that no longer believes in men meets, and suddenly she's like, you know what? At least I met him. At least he's a good guy in this world. Oh, wow. There's more of them after being hurt and let down so many times before. And the funny joke we were making was, okay, imagine her being lesbian 99% of the time and only straight for you. Uh, which is funny to think about. But I think there's some profundity to that if you remove just the
Mm-hmm.
humor from it. Like, yeah, you know, for all the other guys, she's gay except for you. So what are the qualities of that man, Stan? Because what most men get wrong is they're already kind and good, and in the work that we do, the men that come to us are kind-hearted. They're so sweet. They would never they would die before they let something bad happen to a woman that was in their care.
Well, it's kind of quixotic, you know, when they kind in harm to themselves, right?
Yeah, correct,
There
correct.
is
So
the big question of kindness in general. There is, I think, Kant and Schopenhauer was navigating that. Do we really kind, or we still trying to get something with that kindness? Because sometimes it's very much an aware thing, right? Um, I think there is even studies that people who help everyone around, you know, they do that because it makes them feel better. So in the end of the day, did you do that because of another person or did you do it because of yourself? I can just give you example answering on your question, what is the quality of that man? I can say that I've been in many questionable discussions with myself when I could leave relationship, but I told to myself, I really love this girl and I will give her time to heal. I will give her space to navigate that, to understand herself, to start believing men again. So that's, I think, that quality. Because our ego is always overcoming everything around, like, oh fuck, she's still stubborn, it's not going anywhere, and etc. Okay, are you rushing somewhere? Is your life is so boring that you're not busy with your art, not busy with your business, not busy with traveling with your friends? No. If your life is so small, of course you will be over focused on that, and you won't go anywhere. That's the point, I would say that if every silence makes her silence, I mean, makes you panic, you basically dating not her, but you're dating your own wounds. And yeah, that, I mean, every woman wants to feel chosen, but chosen, it doesn't mean to be over surrounded by you. And given the space, that beautiful space, empathy and understanding, that's what really lacks. Many guys are fucking up, they're like, okay, I'll give her space, and then after 9 months they start cheating on her. Well, to all traumas she gets one new trauma. Good to you. Good work, boy.
Yeah, for all the kidding you did, you just hurt her even more. Well, there's
Most
also no
likely
such thing
will
as cheating
never open up after that to any man.
because he was supposed to be the good one. Oh, you cheated on me. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, there's also no cheating if you never promised to be exclusive in the first place. So there's the expectation management and the honesty from the start. So to move things forward, there's this idea, Sam, you mentioned reading great literature as inspiration for living a magnificent life. Even if it was fictional or mythological, there's still lessons that you can take from those stories that apply it to your real life. But imagine everyone that reads the Odyssey or watches the movie, even though they totally changed the story with the movie Odyssey and made it
I
more
will never.
feminist and more politically correct, and missing the point of Odysseus' genius and the real way that Homer told the story, right?
Mm.
Mm. How about the idea of living your own Odyssey? Because the Odyssey, I believe, to take it a step further from your saying, Stan, isn't meant to be read. It's meant to be lived.
Yeah.
Live your Odyssey. Otherwise, why we can read it for entertainment, but that's the same as just watching Netflix. If you don't take the lessons of it and go and apply it in your life, no matter what the form, no matter if you're walking the lover path or you're walking a king, emperor building path, whatever the case that is, these stories are perhaps journeys of transformation, Stan, that lose their point completely if you don't live them in your own way. What is the idea of that living mythology of your own Odyssey, of your personal Troy, of your own Ithaca, right? Of your getting exiled from home and going on your own journey and coming back. This has stood the test of time. And if we apply it to our very soon adventures, Stan, of going on a lover's odyssey across the world, maybe you can come up with a better term for it, but that's what I come to. We're on an international adventure for this phase. You can call it pirate phase, explorer phase, or warrior phase, of being on the front lines and operating on the wisdom of our elders. If we say Zan Perion, Johnny Saporno, Kelly, these guys standing on the shoulders of giants, or the ancients. It doesn't matter. I would say for you, Stan, maybe more of your wisdom and inspirations came from literature than from living people. Then it was much more the dead that inspired you than the living, I would say, for your journey, as I think of it. Mm. And again, we return to antiquity, right? How did you balance that? You have living and dead symbols and icons, Stan, in a sense, that influence your mythologizing yourself. But probably more on the ancients and people that are long gone and
Yeah,
people that maybe never were alive.
Yeah, I don't know, do I have living examples, but I definitely, when I was, let's say, 12 years old or 10 years old, I've been hugely inspired by by Lord Byron, and mostly Charles Hurrell Pilgrimage, definitely, by every point. I guess from there comes the desire to see ruins of Greece and of Rome, of antiquity, right? And yeah, it was. I believe, basically answering on your question, it's not, I guess, about me because we want to help other guys, right? So I think maybe many of the guys they feel kind of obligated to explore these big things like antiquity or historical places, right? Which is might be a bit overwhelming to them, maybe financially, maybe even just not the field of the interest. Maybe they're a bit simpler, right? So in this case, I think the greatest example is Bukowski. In Factotum, in his book Factotum, he describes that he was just curious to see his own country, and he started to travel states from town to town. And he was working as the wash disher, as the cleaner somewhere on the constructions and etc. 2, 3, 4 days, just to pay his apartments in this town, to explore the town and to go further, right? So basically, uh, I think the answer to this is curiosity, and knowing that you might don't have the second chance to do that. You might never be in your 20s, 30s, 40s. At one point, it's going to be late, to do that. So curiosity plus remembrance of time going only further, never going back, that creates that obstacle when you start contemplating your life, like, should I do something about that? And then you can incorporate somehow writing into that, because writing basically, if you need that, but in case if guys read, nobody stops you from traveling on the plane and having the book in your hands, right? Stop watching Netflix, take the book, something like that.
So there's this idea of the leap of faith. Oftentimes, the leaving the shore, setting sail. If we can only speak to, because this is a living podcast that evolves each week as we are in a different city, as we are on a different adventure, as we're exploring a different aspect of the world.
It's empirical podcast.
Empirical philosophy, as in it has to come from lived experience. Yeah, empirical from Kant, right? And people think that we think we have more time than we actually have. Oh, I'll start next week. I'll start once I earn enough money from my job. If I think back, the phrase that my parents told me for the longest time was just make money first, then travel the world. You're getting the order wrong. I asked them, when should I start? When I'm 60? When I can't walk? When I'm limping? When my dick doesn't work anymore? And then I should start and travel the world, which I wanted to do since I was a little boy. We had many, many arguments. And now it's such an interesting thing of now we have the conversation, and of course their parents, they're like, yeah, we supported you the whole time. We knew it would work out. Like, of course you did. And I love them. But this is like, we can relate this to many things. Like,
It's
everyone
interesting.
wants to sit at the table.
Recently, it's been studies done about, so basically, it's proved that before we say I'm ready to do something, we ready way before that answer comes out of our mind or we form it in our head. Basically, in our system, it's appears earlier, which is also interesting. So sometimes I guess the guys who feel like, well, I'm not ready to travel, right, and etc., they might be already on that page. They just don't know. They just didn't formulate that,
They don't know that they're ready because their ego, or they it's like the first time you take a girl home, or the first time you kiss a girl, or the first time you get a girlfriend. Like, you have no prior experience before you do it.
Yeah.
Right?
People are very pedantic, to these things. They want everything to look like exactly by the script of the movie, of the documentary they've seen, or the book. Sometimes in life things looks way more simpler, but sometimes more eloquent. But yeah, It
There's also ego
you don't need to
because
depend on that.
people think the journey will look like this, right, Stan? Like this is the only going up. No, as you know, Stan, as I know, as every man that's traveled the world and talked to girls everywhere with us knows that it looks like this. Oh, you're the king of the world. You did this. Oh shit, you forgot everything, and now we're going back to zero. But you're a little bit higher than before, obviously, right? And then you're a little bit higher. And oh wow, you kissed a girl. Oh, you forgot everything and can't even talk to one girl for the whole night. But you think you forgot everything, but you're actually 2 steps from where you started. But we forget in the moment, right? And then you accomplish everything. You date the most beautiful girl that you've ever met in your life, and then you guys break up, and you feel like you've forgotten everything again. You're back to square zero. But you have more experience, but you haven't gone out for months, and so you think you're rusty or you think you forgot. It's like the metaphor, Stan, you told me one time was with muscle building. Like, even if you lose all your muscle for not working out over the years, the fact that you've already built that muscle before, when you get back in the gym, lets you build the same muscle back faster,
Right.
better than before, and because you've already built it, even if you forgot or lost
Yes.
it. So the journey actually looks something like this, and never ending. The problems get fancier and more luxurious, but yeah, every moment you're like, damn it, I forgot everything. One of our best students, our most successful students, after the greatest 5 days of his life, fell into a 40-day depression. You can ask him himself. Because he was like, damn, everything that I did in my life up until this point was wrong. He had this existential crisis of like, but that's not comfortable, obviously. But then on the other side of that 40 days and nights of anguish and you could say death of his old self, he suddenly unlocked a new level. He made a quantum leap to the next level.
You know what it made me think about? It made me think about Beethoven, and actually when he started to lose his hearing, right? And he basically couldn't hear any music, any instruments anymore, but he was continue writing, creating the music, right? And some of them been published, and he never heard that, right? Like later on. And that's what talking about that, not muscle memory, right? But the continuation. Sometimes the tool itself doesn't exist anymore, but you're still doing that great.
So Beethoven's hearing didn't work anymore. He kept writing, and let's say your dick or my dick doesn't work anymore, and we still keep going forward on this journey. Our instrument doesn't work anymore.
Yeah, instrument.
It's because it's a love of the art, not of the result or the girls that you can get from it.
Yeah, that's
think.
what I'm thinking a lot, like you just really need to ask yourself, do you like this art? Either it's land of human, either the artistic work you do. Maybe sometimes you just want attention, Maybe sometimes just your parents pushed you to that art school or music school, and now you realize that you don't know anything in your life and you want attention, and you don't want to be office worker. Maybe you don't want to be art.
And we come back to art, Stan, because modern musicians have confused format with significance. As if you made your art into a vinyl or a CD or put it on Spotify, if it was not relevant, no one listened to it in this format, and no one's going to listen to it in that format.
Yeah.
So just because you have more quantity of platforms doesn't make your quality of the art that you produce better, so to
It's
speak.
like to create 10 Tinder accounts. And not
Except they're all...
even about one.
Yes. So quality before quantity, but there's also this is a business concept I heard recently called quality volume from Alex Ramosi. It's like, how can you maximize your volume is irrelevant unless you have the quality. Quality versus volume. So obviously if you can have quality versus quantity, you would take quality. But if you can take quality and quantity, that's better than just quality alone, in a sense. You can apply that to this lover's odyssey across the world as well. Such as, if every girl that is in your life is amazing and not just there because of decoration, because she's physically beautiful, but because she adds creative inspiration to your life. because she gets along with the other women in your life. We can go as little or as much into this as you want, Stan. But yeah, why have more women in your life if it's just a headache for you? Unless it actually adds something to your life. We can get into non-traditional relationship arrangements and stuff like this, maybe for a future episode.
I'm
But
just thinking right now about Caravaggio, because
yeah,
the scenes that he painted, that the scenes that the most famous works of him, he was taking prostitutes and homeless people from the street and
Mhm.
painting the saints. So I think this idea of the quality and quantity, it's by many think so overstimulated because it still depends very much on the artist.
Mhm.
Does this artist is still the voice of God? Did he find the way how to attune himself, to clean himself, to arrange
Yeah.
his mind, visions, hearings, whatever, right? So he could transmute that experience. The same with seduction. Like we know all these great guys who getting women every night, and whenever you try to ask them to describe that, every one of us saying the same thing. I don't know. Well, just it was the
Just
flow.
be yourself.
Yeah, exactly, right? Yeah. But yeah, I think most of these things they coming out of infantilism, for
Well,
wanting to be noticed. And in
so
that,
Stan, let me ask you something then, because so you blew my mind. This was 2 years ago when we watched the movie The Dirt together,
mm,
or Motley Crue,
that,
and while we were watching this, you were narrating to me like, "Oh, this guy Vince Neil, by the way, he became one of rock and roll's greatest singers." But you know why? I was like, I don't know. You're like, because he wanted to get some girls.
mm-hmm.
Because the desire for this man, because he couldn't get girls and wanted to get girls, drove him to become one of the greatest singers of all time. So, uh, often, and we could talk about this, Stan, what are the many ways that men try to, that they approximate, that they think will get them a woman or women that love them for who they are in their lives? Oh, let me go to the gym. Let me become a singer. Let me play guitar. Let me make money. Let me build a business empire. For what? Oh, so you can get a girl or girls. When that is not,
No, it's not.
you can quote me on this, the most direct pathway to get girls. The best way to get girls is to focus on the art of getting girls, so to speak, or the art of love.
Yeah,
So
yeah. That's
you
why
make it
they
overcomplicated.
later on and that's why they wives
Yes,
take all the first
because
version of them.
sorry, Stan, because the girl that you got by becoming a billionaire, by becoming a multimillionaire, the girl that you got by becoming that guy, you got her by being rich financially. You didn't get her rich by being rich
I don't
emotionally.
think you need to talk about richness in this case. I think not earliest, like kind of a couple of years ago happened with Johnny Depp, right? Well, okay, you famous actor, you good looking, but you still don't know how to navigate land of women.
And then you couldn't recognize an Amber Heard, the monstrosity of this
Yeah.
cutely disguised woman, because you didn't have, not from lack of experience with women, but from a lack of perception, from not being able to see the,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, you could say monster, or we speak mythologically, in the worst way possible, that lay beneath the shiny exterior and appearance. Better not. Um, and that from a lack of, the guy who played fucking Don Juan DeMarco played fucking Don Juan in the world's greatest lover, right, in the movie Don Juan DeMarco.
Yeah,
But look at his real life. What?
exactly.
So no woman has left my bed unsatisfied with a guy with 1,500 women or something in the movie. In real life,
In real life, something different happened.
but yes, exactly. Like what actually matters. But even for you or me, Stan, I watched that movie and I was heavily inspired by this movie, even though it was fictional. It was written by, what's the guy's name? The
Lope de Vega?
no. Wilson. No.
Maybe.
80% of success is just showing up. Um,
I think it's Woody Allen said that.
Woody Allen. Sorry, Woody Allen.
They're
Forgot. Yeah.
actually from here. Well, he's
Yeah.
sisters, yeah.
From where? From Lithuania.
Lithuania.
So look at the chaos and the Armageddon that happens in men's lives for not having studied the
Mm-hmm.
art of love. The financial consequences, losing, I mean, if you get married, rush into marriage, not knowing what you're doing, thinking this is the love of your life, from a choice made from scarcity and not abundance. Oh, this is the best that I'll do, so I will settle for this one. You know? In the arena of love, it's not fair. And oh man, how many men have been completely destroyed because they didn't, first of all, they didn't understand women. They didn't get women, not from collecting them like numbers, but understanding them.
Mm-hmm.
And so they get absolutely fucked financially or emotionally. They get the entire. There's women that have destroyed men with empires. Like, oh, the world's greatest armies could not destroy this man in battle, in military. But, oh, there's a woman that he doesn't understand. Oh, he throws his entire empire that he spent that generations of men built before him because to try to make a girl like him for all of time, Stan. So interesting, right? Like, what a fundamentally. If I ask you, like, what would be a starting point, Stan, like, having gone down all of the rabbit holes with love and seduction and PUAs and the art of love and things like this that you went down, where would you start for a guy? Like, what is the ultimate basic starting point with any book, with any
Mm-hmm.
movie, with any sort of like foundational package?
I think even before they start to read or watch something, right? They
Yeah.
need to put themselves bar that sounds like this. I need to learn to be comfortable with myself, alone,
Mm.
in solitude, whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it gives you a spine, right? Because most of these guys, they still capricious, right? And when you talk about Don Juan, right? Don Juan de Marco, you see on the screen, right? How many attempts he had to take that great 5 minute dialogue, monologue, or whatever, right? In the
Yeah.
real life, he doesn't have this chance. Emotions arises. She says something, he says something, and that's all. And he doesn't have these skills. There is no time to think, brain is slower than our instincts.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the same with Vince Neil and etc. It's great to be on the stage when you had repetitions for 5, 10 times before going on the stage.
Or 5,000 or
Or
10,000.
5,000, right? And then in real life, it's not like this. I'll give the example on answering on the question that you asked. Tolstoy, Leo Tolstoy, he used to write in his notes all the morality incorrect things he did in his life, because at one stage of his life he became very religious, right? But before that he had a lot of women, a lot of prostitutes, cards, laziness, everything. So he was every day writing what he could potentially improve, right? So it's self-observation. The same in the land of women. You go out, you notice that some of the sides of your interaction with women still not working, right? You might write it down. Be optimistic and be curious. Say yourself, okay, what can I do about that? Don't beat yourself up. Like they go for 3 weeks, every night for 3 weeks, and then they're like, fuck, I spent 3 weeks. It's just 3 weeks. It's just 3 weeks, bro. Didn't spend too much time yet, so be curious about that. And the second thing, when you feel nervousness, when you feel panic attack or whatever, just choose the better perspective that I'm gifting you right now because I'm more educated person. Panic,
Very humble.
very humble. Panic. The word panic comes from the god Pan, accompaniment of friend of Bahus. So the panic you feel, it's sacred. It's your connection to the god. So don't disconnect from the God. Okay, say to yourself, this is my saboteur. I feel it.
It is proof you're alive. It is hard evidence
I said it last
that
time, right? That why
yes.
people feel so many emotions during heartbreak and etc., because you feel the most alive in that moment. So many things around us. Oh, I'm not good enough. Oh, I am abandoned again. Oh, someone is better than me. Or I don't have opportunity to touch her boobies anymore. Many emotions. Of course, guy feels alive, many grief in that moment. But
So
if
whether that is
if you're uncomfortable
the
being alone, you will see only that side.
sorry, Stan, I was gonna hop in.
I will, before I forgot.
Go ahead, go ahead, go ahead, go ahead.
It's very interesting thing. It's new studies on the memory. Basically, that memory is not an archive, right? That you take and let's say something happened to you 5 years ago, right? And you take it after 5 years, rewatch it, and it's still the same. No. Every time you are changing, you getting new experiences, you look at this differently. And that archive is getting new notes into that. So the state in what you came back to that memory kind of changes that memory. That's very interesting studies. It's basically like recent studies. This year, they prove that. Not that people intentionally, of course, some of the people intentionally do that, right? They cannot accept shame and seeing themselves not being perfect 5 years, and they're like, oh, no, 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 these people did that to me, that because these people reacting like this. And of course, it's understandable. It's easier to change perspective, so they could go further, right? But the things that scares you right now, actually, and looks so terrible to you, they might not look like this in a couple years. So your memory is very flexible. And I think it might give a lot of hope to the guys when they feel like, oh, I remember when I was like 12 years old and the girl didn't took my flower or the balloon that I wanted to give her. Now I cannot forget that. Well, you can. Just prove that memory is very flexible.
I think of on the journey to mastery. So Stan, it's like okay. So I wanted to just put a knot on your previous point. One, that nervousness that you feel, the intensity of the emotion of talking to your first girl ever. I think of our good friend who used to travel with us. He said that his first quote unquote cold approach, he saw a girl in the park that he liked, that he didn't know, that he wanted to talk to. He walked to her, but couldn't open his mouth when he walked by.
Mm.
Walked in 3 long circles around the park. Heart absolutely just pumping. Like it was like life and death. It's just talking to a girl, man. If we look at it from the outset, right? But for him, in that moment, it felt like his entire life depended on it. And so he walked in 3 long circles with his heart pumping blood and adrenaline like never before. Finally worked up the courage to go and talk to this girl and said something insignificant that he doesn't remember. Something, just some stutter or something super nervous that came from having never done it before. But he showed up, right? The girl was like, oh, thanks, and walked away and left. But he walked back to his car, and he's from Orlando, Florida, nearby Orlando in Kissimmee. He knows who he is if he's watching this. And he was so proud of himself, even though his brain, his primal brain, was trying every which way to sabotage him from doing something that he wanted. He really wanted. Like, we are our own worst enemies. If we put it in, and we know Alejandro, our good friend, who is a very technically skilled dating coach, and he says that fear comes from the programming of millions of years of evolution of if you go and talk to this woman from a different tribe and she doesn't like you, then her brothers and her tribe are going to kill you. This is like the evolutionary perspective. Maybe you can realize, oh, it's not that deep. And you tell yourself you're not going to die, you're going to be okay if you go talk to this girl, right? This is the same starting point. Or you just had a 10, 20-year relationship that ended, and the pure depths of heartbreak and sorrow that you get into means that you're one capable of feeling. You're not a robot that's apathetic, that doesn't feel anything. There's proof of you being alive, and proof that there's someone in there that can create something better. So whether you're talking to your first girl, Sen, you mentioned that the what's the word? The fluidity of memory, or the
Flexibility.
is that the flexibility or the subjectiveness of memory, quote unquote?
Yeah, I think
Like how
maybe even better.
fluidity, yeah. So in the moment, it seems like, oh wow, this is a Herculean task. This is like talking to a girl, right? Or fuck, I invited a girl to my place and she said yes. Shit. Well, by the way, you can call me or Stan. By the way, put a link in the description if you're in a situation like that. But uh, if you and I look back, Stan, now if that were to happen, it's normal. We have enough proof and enough reasoned confidence, lived experience. Be like, yeah, just take her home, show her around, leave your cigarettes or a balcony in your bedroom. Hey, let me give you a tour, right? But in that moment, in the first time, the like now how with who we are now, if we look back on something like that, Stan, it's like, yeah, it's done. I mean, right? But in the moment of that first time, that leadership through the unknown, of leading anyways without reference experiences, is the whole you mentioned starting before you're ready, Stan. You are ready.
Yeah.
You don't think you're ready, even when you already are ready to start. And the sooner that you get it out the way, that you get the snowball rolling, if you learn to love the pain, there's a quote I remember, it's like, the magic you're looking for is in the work that you're avoiding. But the fact that you feel nervous about it is exactly why you need to go talk to the girl.
Mhm.
It's exactly why you need to take her home. It's exactly why you need to shoot your shot, quote unquote, and ask her to be your girlfriend, if that's what you want. I disagree with that, but you know, we can don't promise things that you can't deliver on. So this interesting, Stan. Interesting discussion. I think this.
I think right now about everyone who's beating themselves up right now, saying that that approach wasn't perfect and etc. etc. Just remember Tchaikovsky, the Russian composer. He burned out half of his best works, and the best works that recognized right now, he've been calling piece of shit. So your solipsistic and subjective view on the things might be so very far from the reality and from the perception that women felt around you.
Well, so you're saying that his works that he thought were absolute dog shit are celebrated, are viewed as musical
You'll
genius, are
celebrate.
viewed as, and he thought this is fucking shit, right? But just things that he thought are good ones, that he felt are good ones, unrecognized, unheard of, no one knows of them, and sometimes it overlaps, but most of them don't.
Mhm.
That who was it, Stan? You were telling me just like they discover the works of someone, the artist that died like years later. He himself would like he views those as his rough drafts or things he would never publish, right? But
Mhm.
then they find them and then they release them posthumously after they died. I forgot specific examples that we talked about,
There
but
is many of them. Like one of them might be Gauguin, Van Gogh. If
yeah,
about writers, it's recently they discovered in Russia one writer been like this. Yeah,
yeah.
but there is plenty examples like this. You're right.
So the artist just doesn't publish. he he's sitting on gold that he just like, this is shit. Why would anyone like this? Because the perfectionism or the personal standards. I think with your writing, you have your book, you don't fucking publish it. When it might change someone's life, it might save someone's life.
I think it's there is two type of people in this case. I think three, right? The first ones it's complete trash that they are not artists. They're trying to push their art everywhere, on every fucking platform. They're trying to
Unfortunately,
jump on every stage, they're trying to post all over, and and the second thing, it's people as you described right now, who don't believe in themselves. It's basically Dostoevsky could be one of them, It's Turgenev and Belinsky. They came to Dostoevsky after reading his first book, and they've been like, "Wow, bro, you crazily good," And that's how, thanks God, we have Dostoevsky, right? Because he was just working in the magazine, literature magazine. We could never have Dostoevsky, but the editors of that magazine, they found out. So, and the third thing, I belong to the third one. I, I do art because of myself. I'm not trying to save someone. I want art being perfect. I want art being deep and complex enough, And in the moment when it's like, when you have a balloon, right? It expands. So when it will expand enough, it will blow up. So it will go to the world. People will read, people will talk about that. I'm not hiding anything. I'm sharing some of the articles with people that I think are good enough. But for me, it's just, I just want to give not 10 out of 10. I want to give 100 out of 10 because I feel potentiality in me, I feel that. And that's the thing. It's not perfectionism or not believe in myself. I just know that why would I release 10 out of 10 when in a year or two I can give 100 out of 10?
Because you can make more money or get more girls. But that's a discussion for a different time. You leaving money and girls on the table, Stan, by not publishing your stuff on every platform, or hire someone to do it for you. Anyways, moving on.
Hopefully women will be in our life not because we made a lot of money.
Well, they might be in your life because they read something that you wrote with your mind. That's a good reason.
That's a great reason.
It's like, I don't know, it's like there's a funny thing we can discuss on how it's not that you don't like Russian speaking girls, Stan, but I think of the right way to say this. It's not a challenge for you.
No, I think it's in general, I don't put this question women challenge, but you kind of close to that.
It's not a mystery for you.
Yeah, not mystery, and at the same time, I like different mentalities, right? I very much adore in women's similarities, right? Something that I can recognize, if she listens the same music, if she has the same mindset, if she knows my role models and etc. It's adorable. But in the same time, I also want to learn something from her, right? And with Russian women, for me, it's a bit more complicated because I grew up with them, I've been surrounded by them all my life. And the absolute beauty, and I understand why guys from around the world fantasizing about them. For me, there is no mystery anymore. It's
Yeah.
And I guess
So Latinas are more interesting to you, perhaps, or Asian girls.
no.
So we're getting somewhere good, Stan. We went somewhere obviously not publishable, but so if we evolve that, then we're cavemen brained. We want novelty. We want more, different things like this as men. So Stan, how do you know when is the time to stop for a man? When he has had enough, quote unquote, to make an educated decision on choosing a life partner, quote unquote. We all have different tastes when it comes to women. Just like we'll have a different thing that is the best for you, Stan, that is the best for me, that's the best for our friend Alex. That is what quantity, it's not quantity, I guess, but at what point can you and I look at a guy, and I guess for you specifically, can you say, okay, he's had enough women for his choice on his woman to be a real choice?
Right.
It's not about the quantity necessarily, but what are the qualities of that guy if you or I were to look at him and say, that's an equal, that guy chose his girl is lucky because that's a womanizer's choice, quote unquote, right? You say it and it's never left my mind. You can never be really loved as a woman unless it's by a womanizer that has been with everything. Then he's really choosing you.
Yeah. Yeah.
How many / what kind of women
many options?
Yes. Right? Just like what color Ferrari do you like? Oh, well, you can actually afford one. You have a few, right? For example. At what point has a man reached enough? I would say abundance. But what is that to you? Because to be honest, for you and me even, we still want to go on more adventures. We want to keep traveling.
Yeah, I think maybe the difference between me and you that my exploration in the land of women was that I ultimately was romantic that's been searching for one girlfriend, right? But it's occasionally was many girlfriends on that road. And answering the first part of your question, I think there is some men, who has enough women in their life, and for them priority is tranquility. So they just pick the one who brings the less struggles and troubles to them, right? Then I think there is second category. I belong to that. It's the guy who chooses the woman who feels like home that completes his vision of that home, right? Not completes him, which is bad, right? You need to be completed already, and she needs to be completed. So that's the second part, that the woman that completes that idea of you, of your home of your warrior's repose, as Dan says, right? And there is third category, right? The guys who are picked by women. Not that he had any choice, right? She just texted him. She was just texting a lot him and been approaching him, and he had no other girls who've been texting him, and he's like, well, now she's my girlfriend.
This is very interesting, Stan, because I remember in high school I had a good friend, Indian guy, good grades, good looking guy, and he would always, his girlfriends would always be the girls that had enough confidence to talk to him. So I told him in theory, because I understood the theory. I had no girls at the time either, right? I was telling him, hey, if you keep going with girls that talk to you first, you'll never reach the potential of girl that you can get. Because I thought I was so smart saying something like this to him, right? Without a girlfriend. Imagine that. But in a way, I think there's this idea that, Stan, you showed me in the past before. I think you sent me on Instagram. A woman will break her rules for a bad boy that she enforces on good guy or on good boys or something. What's the quote? I don't remember exactly.
Pretty much like this, yeah. I don't remember.
Something like this, right? The woman changes her rules based on the strength of will or the power of the reality of the specific man that she's with. A woman might do threesomes with one guy, but never with this husband guy, right?
Yeah.
Because of the way that things are set up from the start. And there's this, I guess, evolution I've seen since I've known you, Stan, of a sort of departure from a Lilith, chaotic, maximum artistic, creative inspiration girl. Men don't write poetry about housewives, as you told me when we met, into your peace and your tranquility is more important to you now than the obviously of great artistic value, ups and downs that kind of relationship can have, Lilith and Lucifer, metaphorically speaking, right? But now your peace and I guess your art is way more important than those things. But that, as obviously from having been on the other side, having gone through, not just avoiding completely, right, for you.
But I think it's just, I don't like these extremes, like both of them are extremes, to go into that tranquility. Then you can end up in the monastery, And the second part, you might go full force into orgies and never meet the person who is your soulmate. I'm a big believer in soulmates, right? So I think I'm just the person of the balance that trying to find that balance, In this broken world, I still believe that it's possible to meet your soulmate, who will be there on the same page as you are and will understand you without any negotiations. That's what on what page I am. And yeah, obviously art is big part of this because I cannot allow myself anymore, to be crazily involved into the land of women and crazily involved into relationship with crazy girlfriends, just because then I will sacrifice my heart to that. Yes, it's roller coasters. Yes, it's fun, but in
your romanticism.
Yeah, but there is. Well, that's interesting thing that I'm exploring last half of the year, maybe 1 year. The difference of love, and they call it codependency, So sometimes people just unaware what it really is, and they. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's very complicated to answer to this simply, but in my opinion, yes, you sometimes you might very much like maybe, sometimes for the guys if they don't feel fully on the right place in their relationship, maybe this is the call to leave this relationship. If you tried everything, if you try to course correct, if you try to talk, if you try to navigate, if you try to be patient, maybe leave. And maybe this is the initiation you need to go through, because there is nothing more painful than to leave the person you still love and that person still loves you back. But you do that because it's right. That's the most painful thing you can experience in your life. It's easier when someone dumped you, like didn't work out. It's easier when you stop loving. But when both of you still, in love, and you go through this initiation. But again, first of all, I would recommend guys to try every possible way to fix things, because you take a person as they are, right? If they want and if they're willing to involve on this journey with you, great, that's your person. It's if at one point you realize that you here and they're still there, you might wait a bit more, but most likely you need to take that difficult decision for yourself, which might be painful, but this is the question that you need to ask yourself: do I want to regret all of my life for being in the wrong relationship, or do I want to regret for the next year? And
in the moment.
I think what very much scares people is somewhere kind of chthonic, very deep understanding that that special person became biography of us, of who we are. And we're a bit afraid to remember that after 10 years, being married, being good fathers, and etc. And then to remember, oh, fuck. And it could work out differently.
So avoiding regret, basically.
Well, I think it's impossible to avoid regrets in general. It's just you need to. Kierkegaard said it. I think I told it before. He said you will regret anyway. He said whatever you will choose, you will regret anyway. Just.
Was it with marriage? You mean like if you get married, you'll regret it. If you don't get married, you'll regret it.
Yeah, you will regret anyway. But he expanded that theory way further, right? So it's not just about that. Basically, most of the decisions we take, they still have some regret.
Yeah.
At least 1%, Let's say you go tomorrow to Brazil, right? And it's your mom's birthday. And 10% of you will be still with your mom and be full of regret, I didn't stay with my family. But 90 will be, oh, let's have fun.
Or you'll regret not going to Brazil if you go to your mom's birthday.
Exactly. So this is what will bring you less regrets.
Yeah. Probably go to Brazil after your mom's birthday.
Or with your mom. Let's have some fun.
Take your mom to Brazil for her birthday with some forward horny Brazilian guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then that becomes, how do you retain your romanticism, Stan? Because if after enough relationships, it's kind of hard to believe, right? Unless the relationships are inspiring and growth oriented, you become more yourself, they become more themselves. Sometimes they don't work out because of timing, because of people wanting different things, because of circumstance, right? You were both true completely to yourselves and it just still didn't work out. That's a better end than getting into with the wrong. They were the right person for you, perhaps at the wrong time, not to be generic. Interesting. Either way, we should say that every man needs to go and get enough experience, not about quantity of girls, before he makes a choice about what kind of relationship he ultimately wants to have. Maybe an open relationship, maybe a closed relationship. We have examples of both that work, Stan, depending on what's true for parties in the relationship. I'm probably more on the open side, Stan, just based on mentorship and path. But either way, there's not a choice at all if you have no experience. That's not a real choice. Your yes means nothing if you can't say no.
Yeah.
The color of the boat that you want to buy doesn't matter if you can't afford to buy a boat or haven't bought in boats before. And the same with this journey in the land of women.
True.
So a lot of guys that come to us want more experience with women. So they are afraid of getting a girlfriend because they'll be like, oh no, I won't be able to experience more women, right? Or a lot of guys, what they don't realize is you could have depth and width with your girlfriend if you set up your relationship in the right way.
Yeah.
If you don't set up a boyfriend-girlfriend in the way that everybody else does it, conformist sort of way, you could have it open to girls. You could have it open to her you could be open, things like this. You could be with other girls while she's with other guys, or not. Maybe she's not into other guys except you. There's different ways for you to. I don't know, Stan. Would you say, if you want to get into this,
Into what?
when I was a young like 19-year-old guy, and I was insecure about the fact that I didn't have much experience with women because I focused on studies, like a good Chinese kid. And I had a girlfriend, and so most of my experience came from having that relationship with one girl. You would get more experience, for the guys that are listening to this, by being with one girl in a deeper way than being with a bunch, let's say 50 girls that you take home from the club or the bar, and then you only meet them one time and it was a bad experience, and then you go home and you never see them again. The guy that's with a girlfriend probably is better, quote unquote. But then you juggle that with the desire for variety. Anyways, we have a Brazil adventure planned, guys, for later this year, in the next 4 months. And that's going to be you guys traveling with us. So it's not coaching in the sense, which is, honestly, we don't even want to do the coaching anymore because Stan wants to write his book. Like, I want to spend time with my girl. Like, so, but for the way that we underwent our original transformations was to go in osmosis, to go out every single night, to eat dinner together, to make a plan for the night, to go out, to come home and like try to understand what happened that night. Obviously, we would come home together towards the beginning, right? When we all went out together, because none of us could take a girl home, right? And to do that day after day, night after night, for months and years, that was what led to our original initiation. That was the initiation. That was the transformation. To do that with us by your side is what we're offering now. It's not coaching. It's existing in that energy, in that spirit, in that time, space, which we plan to lead a lot of future adventures. Because we're still going. We're still in that phase, and we won't do it forever. But right now, it still feels true for us to go and travel the world and meet some incredible women that are waiting for, some romantic women that are waiting for men to come and sweep them off their feet like Hitch. No woman ever woke up and thought to herself, I don't want to be swept off of my feet today. But what is the lived version of that? As far as this is concerned, the lived lover's odyssey doesn't have to be a solo journey, as far as I see it, Stan. Although it can be. And many times it is. It's my view that we're much stronger together. And so for those that are still listening to this, that dare to join on the pirate ship, metaphorically for now, until we buy a physical one. Yes, there's a whole world of women waiting out there. Of beautiful women that are waiting and asking, where are the real men? Well, on our way. So, right now we have Bucharest.
Zan was given conferences. They still ask him since that time.
Cut. So this is the rough plan. We're doing month-long adventures. We'll be in Bucharest, Romania until October, from which point we'll go to Florence and Berlin, go to China for a month, then Brazil over New Year's. And so we'll leave a link for everything below for those that want to live this adventure, not just listen, nod along, and go back to the same life. It's not for everyone. In fact, it's not for most people.
I agree.
So let's conclude, Stan. We're going to reunite very soon. But what are the... What is in... What are the things that you are looking to bring to our next chapters of travel? Because it's from a different place than when you left home at 20 or 19, Stan. You're in a different phase and exploration. Obviously, the writing will be... the lived experience you will view from a different lens than when you were more 10 years ago, Stan. When you went on a different sort of solo exploration. This time, maybe solo, maybe group. What are the things and intentions and the things that are in your mind as you look forward to this next chapter or saga of travels? This time to South America, I think, is a new frontier for you.
I don't know. I haven't thought this way, but I think I told you this before that Gogol, Bardella, and Diaz, as my friends, very much
Mhm.
inspired me by the idea that their art was bringing them into new cities, into new countries, meeting new people, exploring the art that they love. In their case, it's music, right?
Mhm.
And that's very much inspired me, even though I know them for many years, I never just like, it's never clicked in my mind, that full, complete dedication to this, to the most dearest thing in your heart might create you the life you want. Because there is something, I think at one stage, guys realize that, that staying on the kitchen with your woman and just seeing how her wrinkles are moving when she's telling you something about her hard day, it's way more expensive and way more dear than hundreds of years of traveling. But until that, until you will reach that point, you need this 100 years of traveling with caravans or without. But that perception when your woman can replace everything in your life, but you need to have that depth and experience, and on that you can build understanding of her beauty. That in her you recognize all the women you knew and all the women you could potentially meet.
Well, so to close, because then this was the thing that came to mind. I just saw it the other day. I think it's the different way of describing what you just said. It's life is a garden, not a road. We enter and exit through the same gate. Wandering, where we go matters less than what we notice, from Kurt Vonnegut,
Good writer.
which is what you just said as well, Stan, in a different way, right? It's not about, you said with 100, you could travel for 1,000 years. It might mean less to you after you've already seen the whole world than the aging beauty of this woman that you knew in her youth. That's old and gray and wrinkled now. That might have a more subjective meaning to you than meeting a 10,000 other girls.
Yeah.
Interesting. I mean, that's so
This
interesting that we're
guys
already touching on that,
on the
Stan.
whole episode, I think if this episode gave me personally any realization, I think the
Mm-hmm.
guys who are good with women, they don't need women anymore. Like they it's just so part of their life. So they can see that transcendent, laconic beauty that I mentioned in one woman. Maybe even in
Laconic?
your sister or in your mom.
Mm-hmm. Will you say what laconic beauty is again, one more time, Stan?
Laconic,
Yeah, just for everyone.
uh, beauty in general, abstract word, right? Laconic is the beauty that opens up step by step, right? So the
Mm.
first, like, let's say you're in relationship for a couple months with the girlfriend, right? And you don't notice these wrinkles when she's sharing something about her, and then you realize, like, oh, when she's smiling, I see these wrinkles that I don't see on daily basis, right? Or you
Mm-hmm.
see how she smiles and you see wrinkles here, or you notice the tone of her voice when she's saying about that girlfriend she hates, and you're like, she never used this tone, but when she talks about her, this is something different, right? This small subtle details, but it comes after you traveled and met another woman in your life.
Yeah. You developed your eyesight
Yeah.
to see the extraordinary in the ordinary moments, to see gold where others only see rocks. Stan.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's that exaltation that I talked last time about, First, that
Yeah.
exaltation pushes you to see the world and to show yourself to the world, and then it's vice versa. After you showed yourself to the world and you saw the world, you want to get back with that, and you're
Mm-hmm.
getting back, and you might be. I really believe, like, that idea that I mentioned before. The guy who had experiences with women, he can contemplate beauty of his woman, uh, basically all the time when he is not sleeping. I guess even if he's
Hmm.
stupid, he can concentrate that. But that's very different. It's like, it's that dedication very similar to your art, If you really love your art, you're going to sleep thinking about your art and you're waking up with thinking about your art. And all day you're thinking about your art. Same. But here it comes out of love to this thing, right? Love to that woman, love to the art, not obsession. Not I think about her because what she's doing, maybe she's cheating. Not that. It's like, whoa, I'm grateful that she is who she is.
Hmm.
I'm grateful that she is so messy.
Hmm.
That because there is a lot of beauty in that, but for the right person. There have been Miley Cyrus ex-boyfriend, someone like they cutted the clips of them, and she was like jumping around. She was messy, and some I don't like she was joking around, something doing crazy, and that boyfriend was like he shook her hand like this and looked at her with very unhappy and unsatisfied face. And you can see how her face drops, right? And you see that she shuts down in that moment. If you give her a chance to be messy, she will open up even more beautiful to you.
Stan, I think we should close with this, which is we touched on many topics that we don't even understand as well as we will understand as we continue to travel. We just have a glimpse.
Yeah.
And we can only speak to, from lived experience, where we are at now, which we're not perfect. We learn every day.
Mm.
But I do believe that we have learned some things that can already be valuable and safe. The funny thing we've been thinking recently is don't lose more girls than you need to lose. Don't leave more money on the table than you need to leave.
Yeah.
If it can already be helpful, if it's useful. Because these are the things that we talk on the podcast that we wish we had heard or known before we started. And so if someone listening to this, if this saves you 1,000 hours or 10,000 hours of headache and confusion and heartbreak, then we're happy if it helps even one person. So, all right. Any closing thoughts, Stan?
I mentioned this before, but I will mention one more time. Life is short. Forgive quickly and kiss slowly.
Preferably women. I'll close with this. The Greeks invented orgies, and the Romans figured out you can add women to them.
Yeah.
See you guys next week.